She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Where is your identity? Meaning, what is your identity rooted in? Hi, I'm Dani Johnson. Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. That's an important question to ask yourself because so oftentimes we can have our identity rooted in things that lead us into places of destruction. Here on the Dani Johnson Show, every single day, we talk about redefining success because there is a status quo definition for success. And so many of us have gone and we worked so hard, putting in countless hours, trying to achieve what somebody else has told us that success actually looks like, only to end up in ruins, emotionally bankrupt, mentally frazzled, spiritually dry, financially beat up. We don't want to be that now, do we? I know that I have gone down that road of chasing somebody else's version of success. And then I came to a place in my life where it was, hold on a second here. Is this really all worth it? And is this really what I want? That's what we hope every day on the Dani Johnson Show, that you come to that conclusion yourself and that you define success for you. You figure out what you were designed for. You learn the purpose for your life because you've been called since you were planted together in your mother's womb. When you were put there, there was destiny that was attached to your very DNA. And oftentimes we are chasing somebody else's destiny instead of our own. So today we're actually going to dive deep into two people's lives, two people who have started in one place of their life, wound up going through some serious trials and then making some new decisions, learning some new things, and transforming and living a completely different life. So joining me today actually from the UK, from York, actually, United Kingdom, is Linda. Linda is a faithful client of ours. She's a mother, and she was a businesswoman for 25 years until she came to a place and a revelation that, hold on a second, is this really what I'm called to do? Linda, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Thank you. Hi, Dani.
So excited to have you with us. I've been so blessed by your story, lady. Really, really blessed by your story. And I know that so many of our clients have been blessed too. So if you can, let's just go ahead and give a quick synopsis about where you were, because you came to us just a couple of years ago. And I know it was through debt that actually was bringing you, that painful bondage of debt, I think, was one of the things that kind of brought you to this place. But tell us about where your life was prior to getting involved with this community that so many others are involved with today.
Okay. Thank you, Dani. Listen to you talking about identity. I was a very good example of someone who'd been sold the world's version of success. I was born to very young parents. At 16 and 18, the odds were against them. So a lot of stuff happened in life, and at a very young age, from 17, I was actually given probably what was the equivalent of $50 and kicked out of home, no job, no car. And I was very driven to proving everyone wrong. So I had a lot of motivation, I had a lot of drive, but it was all negative motivation. So by the time I was a young adult, I was completely wrapped up in my business reputation. I was known for my success in my work, and it looked good from the outside. I had a very successful career from the outside, but I was absolutely isolated. I was broken inside, and I had been married before. I was only married for 4 months, something I'm not very proud of. Fortunately, there were no children, and my life was just this fast pace of broken relationships, a lot of stress, a lot of conflict. Fast forward to May 2012, living in the UK. We'd been there for about 12 years after leaving South Africa, and it was my 40th birthday, my 10th wedding anniversary to my second husband, and we had $250,000 worth of debt. Oof. We were struggling to stay on top of a global business that was doing well, but the money was just flying out faster than it was coming in. And then we were embezzled, and the whole house of cards came tumbling down. We lost our business. We filed for bankruptcy. And just before that, Richard Morton, Roosevelt, I had met Rizzles at our local church, and we didn't know each other very well, but he had been chasing me for 13 months and talking about this Dani Johnson, First Steps to Success. And I said to him, friend, it's great that it worked for you. It's great, but really the scar was every time I saw him, he was just on my case about attending. And he just said, I know that you have to be there. And I said, it's great that it's worked for you. I don't have time for this stuff. I'm busy fighting fires. I'm busy trying to save my marriage. I'm busy holding on to my business. So for over a year, he chased me down. And then when things got so bad, I was on my knees. I just didn't know which way to turn anymore. I eventually, because I admired his persistence so much, I said to Richard, for goodness sake, come into the office for a cup of coffee. We've got half an hour. Tell me more about this conference. And well, Dani, that was the turning point. In about, I think it was March or April, Richard came into the office and he pushed play. He didn't even say much. He pushed play on War on Debt, a video link, and we saw testimonials. I was so blown away by the testimonials. We bought the DVD straight away, and it was about a month later that we were embezzled. If it weren't for that War on Debt DVD, I would not have understood the life that we were living. That was a ridiculous, false representation of success. So thanks to War on Debt, I took my 5-year-old out of private school. I got rid of the huge big house that the three of us lived in, and I got rid of all the big fancy cars. My Black Beauty that I used to call her, my 4x4, I will admit to being a little bit sad when I got rid of her. But after that, Dani, I was really convicted about how we were spending money. Yeah. And we had made $2.2 million in 5 years, and we had £250,000 worth of debt. And we just learned from that War on Debt that there's a skill to making money, but we didn't have the skills of how to keep money and then how to make it grow. Yeah. And so, but then we still didn't get it. We still didn't go to the next event. I thought, like an idiot. I thought, I've got this. I've watched the War on Debt DVD. I've got this. I know what to do. Well, I didn't know what to do. It wasn't much later we were filing for bankruptcy, and I almost headed down the road for my second divorce. Wow. And it was eventually in February 2013 that we attended our first Steps to Success in London, at Kingsgate, actually, our former...
you know what, Linda? There's something I want to pause here for just a second. Excuse me for interrupting you. No. There's so much about what you are saying that I don't want anyone to miss. First of all, you are heading on a path of destruction, and it is as though a messenger was sent to you for 13 consecutive months to try to protect you from ending up in destruction, to protect you from declaring bankruptcy, to protect you from being embezzled. And yet the quiet messenger, and there was a messenger, and it was a man, he was a guy you went to church with, who, and first of all, how amazing that he persisted with you. I mean, what a crazy thing. You know, most friends or acquaintances that we go to church with, they don't persist with us like that. But here, your friend Richard, who is a faithful client of ours, he believed so strongly and knew and felt like he was appointed to come to you and your husband to help you, and not even knowing the kind of help that you needed. He didn't even know what your problems were. He didn't know that you were facing bankruptcy. He didn't know that your marriage was about to end in a divorce again, second marriage. Do you know what I mean? He had no idea that you were living the way that you were living, and yet he persisted with you. That really speaks wonders to me. I have to look at, and I want those who are listening to go, wow, who has been trying to talk to me that is being used, sent as a messenger, maybe sent by God, to try to help me not make enormous mistakes that I have just muted. I've muted them. They're in front of me. They're talking. They're messaging me. They're inviting me. They're trying to help me, and I just keep muting them. And I loved what you said. You said you were too busy. You were too busy. I'm too busy. I got too much going on. You know, I'm glad it worked for you. It definitely won't work for me. Yeah. To me, that just speaks volumes. A, to the person, but B, to a loving God. You know, the Bible says that if you won't listen to the gentle messenger, he first sends the gentle messenger. And if we won't listen and we won't take heed to the gentle messenger, then we will listen to the harsh one. What do you say to those people? Come on, because you know there's people that are just like you. I want you to picture how you used to think. I want you to picture who you were. And here's Richard that is persisting with you month after month for 13 straight months. Man, that was persistent. To try to get you to come. What do you say to those people? Say?
So blown away. And we weren't even friends. Richard saw something in me. I said to him, after I started experiencing such powerful results through your events, I said to him one day, I sat him down and I said, why did you persist so much with me? It wasn't even that we were good friends. We didn't even really know each other that well. I still to this day don't understand much of what he said. He just said, I saw you as a strong woman in business. I saw you as someone who could stand on your feet, but I just felt like there was something that you needed. I saw that you were striving and that you were working hard, but that you had this potential influence. But he could just see something in me, and through his face, I've got closer friends that I've had for 20 years that haven't persisted that way with me that Richard did for 13 months. And I'm so grateful to my God for him, Dani, because if it weren't for him, I tell you, there's no doubt about it. I would be divorced and I would be living with my children, hating the fact that I promised myself I would never be a divorced mother because I come from that background. So my mindset, I went back, like you said, and I thought, what made me just put my hand out to him thinking, this guy is nuts. I don't know what he's going on about. But I think when I analyzed it, it was a certain nature, a certain character, a certain experience in life. I was so fueled and driven to succeed because I had been told by many people that I wouldn't. And I think when you have a certain nature, a certain character that says, I will show you, I will prove you wrong. Yeah. From a very young age, I was leaning on myself. I was the one who made it for myself or not. Everything was down to me. I didn't understand that I could lean on somebody else. So therefore, I didn't understand that I wasn't teachable. Yeah. And the shocking irony was that I have been in communications and training and teaching and coaching others for years. And that is just shocking that I wasn't teachable, yet people were coming to me, and God really convicted me on that by the time the 13 months rolled around.
And look at that. Look at how usually, and that's a hard thing for people who are in a teaching leadership role to maintain humility and teachability. And when we don't work, I mean, you have to fight to stay humble. You have to fight to stay teachable. You have to to fight against everything that is in you that says, well, I'm the expert, do as I say. And then of course, not as I do. When we continue back, we're going to hear the rest of this powerful, powerful story that I've already learned so much from. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
If you feel like no one in the world cares about your pain, you've come to the right place. This is the Dani Johnson Show. Did you know you can take the Dani Johnson Show with you wherever you go? It's never been easier to stay up to date with the latest content from Dani with the DaniJohnson.com app. Watch or listen in the car, at the gym, or on the go. Download it now from the App Store and Google Play and never miss a show again. Your family, business, and bank account will thank you.
Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Pancha. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org.
More resources, more training, more results. The DaniJohnson.com Insider membership is your ultimate success shortcut. Get exclusive access to reports, videos, audios, ebooks, cheat sheets, and other training for your personal and professional life. This is truly DaniJohnson.com's best kept secret. Become an Insider member today and get on the fast track to success.
You want to succeed, right? But you do not want to fail God at the same time. There is a way to succeed from a biblical perspective, and it's far greater than anything you could ever imagine. Over 500 scriptures I studied to study money, everything that the Bible said about money. That's in the first couple chapters of Spirit-Driven Success. Not to mention leadership, working with people, growing a career, being used mightily in the marketplace, which is where Abraham, God used him in the marketplace. And Joseph, God used him in the marketplace. Moses, God used him in the marketplace. Daniel, Solomon, really all of the greats of faith, most of the greats of faith throughout the Bible, they all were in the marketplace, and God wants to show you how you can be used mightily by him in the marketplace. Right here, Spirit-Driven Success is where all of my notes are on how you can do that. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Spirit-Driven Success today.
If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do with your life? Discover your own answer. And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
You know, it's amazing. We can be running down a road thinking that we're on the right track, and yet we could be heading for a cliff. Somehow we didn't see the road signs ahead that said, detour, detour, detour. But I'll tell you what, if you're like a lot of people, you're texting while you're driving. You're so busy with your email while you're driving. So busy thinking about other things that you're driving. In fact, I want you to think about right now. Do you even know how you got to work today? Well, yeah, Dani, I drove. Do you remember the road? Well, it's the same road I drive every day. I'm just saying, do you remember the people that you passed, the cars that you saw? You know, we can let life fly by us in a scary way. And that's exactly where Linda found herself. Here on the Dani Johnson Show, we dissect what it actually takes to become successful. Here every single day, we bring you content and stories of people's lives where they were headed on a road of destruction and then did an about face, made some simple little changes and had a massive transformation to inspire you. And then the other days of the week where we dive into different types of content for business or finance, really telling the truth about success versus this gigantic fallacy that is being sold to you and me, this other dream that costs a whole heck of a lot of money and really just ends up in a lie, a false, a farce, depression for so many, and some that even commit suicide trying to chase somebody else's dream. You have a calling on your life, friend. Do you know what it is? Linda did not. Linda, your story has been profound. So a friend persisted with you for 13 months. Here you are about to be divorced a second time on your own with your 2 children, something you said you would never do. You are a highly successful businesswoman in your past years, but that highly successful businesswoman had broken relationships, made a couple $1 million, but ended up with £250,000 in debt. Which meant that, yeah, we spent more than what we made. So your friend Richard tapped into First Steps, brought you through First Steps after 13 months of persisting with you. What happened that changed your life? What did you learn at that training seminar that began to change your life? What steps did you take that has put you where you are today?
Well, Dani, the most profound experience that I had at my first event, and it's been a 2-year-long confirmation, was your tool called GEMS. And I remember just before I attended your event, I got to such a place of desperation. I said to my husband, I want to take my foot off the gas. I want us to move to New Zealand. I want us to go live on a farm with sheep somewhere where no one can find us. I want to give up on my dreams. I'm tired. I can't do this anymore. That was at the age of just over 40, going on 41. And at that event, during your GEMS event, I went to go and sit with the Pearl section, which is the opposite GEM to mine. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, I do a lot for charity and I fight human trafficking, but I didn't realize I did all those things on my terms. Yeah. And so I sat there in my high heels and dripping with my bling, and I heard the music for the Pearls, and I thought, oh no, this is not where I belong. And the very first thing that I did when I realized I was in the wrong section was I said, you idiot, you can't even get this right. So I tiptoed over to the Ruby section, because when I heard that song come on, Eye of the Tiger, I thought, those are my people. For the first time in my life, I came across a group of people who knew who they were. They were driven. Yes. They were competitive. They were confident. They looked like me. Yes. And it solved my identity crisis that I'd had for 40 years, because I'm the only brown-eyed blonde out of 5 green-eyed brunette girls. I'm the only one who jumps out of airplanes and off bridges and is in business. They're all beautiful, gentle people. So I never knew where I fit in. And then, but you called me on it, Dani. You called me out in a room of 500 people, and it was the best day of my life, because you said to me, you said, your problem is that you think that you can do everything by yourself, for yourself, and you stuck to time management. And you said, if you just fix those 2 things, you'll be fine. And I was in absolute tears, but it was the best day of my life, because nobody could identify the problem for me before. And so James was my most profound first step into understanding this is my God-given nature. This is why I'm so driven.
And there's a purpose
it's okay
for it.
To be this way.
Yep. And there is a purpose for it, but the purpose is not to kill yourself. The purpose is not to be Superwoman, Wonder Woman 24/7, but that there's a balance that we're supposed to have in our life. And we live in a society that says if you want to be successful, then that means you have to sacrifice your relationship with your husband or your wife. You have to sacrifice your relationship with your kids. You have to sacrifice your health. You have to sacrifice sleep. You have to sacrifice wisdom in order to become successful. And that really is the message that is so taught out there in the business world, but it is destroying physical bodies. It's shortening the lifespan on people. It is hurting families. There is a way that you can succeed and get what you want without sacrificing your family, your fun, your health. There is a way to be able to balance it all out to where, wow, you don't have to be a stress case to make a lot of money. That's the facts, and that's what we teach at First Steps to Success. We're going to continue here in just one moment to wrap up the story with this beautiful, wonderful woman, as you've seen here on the screen. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
Stay right here for more of The Dani Johnson Show. Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First Steps to Success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.
Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, I was working 60 to 75 hours a week. I was completely stressed out. I was incredibly angry with my husband. We were in over $350,000 worth of debt. By applying the strategies that Dani teaches, in the last 3.5 years, we have paid off $170,000 in debt. We are no longer roommates, and we no longer spend every single cent that we make. We now have made tens of thousands of dollars in passive income in investments. We are on the right track. We're traveling around the world together, and we are building homes for those who really need it. So I don't know about you, but if you want to cut back from 60 to 20 and 30 hours a week, if you want to mend some relationships, if you want to make your life more efficient and a lot more fun, and you want to be the best version of you, I highly recommend that you get registered, because your life is about to change.
Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, First Steps to Success in Creating Dynasty, my wife and I were really lost. We were struggling in a relationship. We were struggling financially, drowning in debt. Our relationship was really broken. We were in a bad place. We were living in 2 completely different states and not really honoring each other. Once we got plugged into the community, we noticed a shift in our lives. Most importantly, we came together as a husband and wife. That was the first thing we did. And when we finally came together under the same roof, things started to change. Over the past 3 years, we've been able to pay off over $495,000 in debt. I know my business, I've had a job created for me that increased my income by 50%. That has actually opened up the door to allow my wife and I to spend more time with each other. So I don't know where you are. I don't know if your relationship is super awesome. I don't know if your job is immaculate. I don't know if you're debt-free. But what I do know is if you're not any one of those things, your next step is to get plugged into DaniJohnson.com, go on the website, get plugged into the community. I promise you, your life will never be the same.
Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, I was a broke college student, drowning in debt, and I felt like the world was crashing all around me, and I had bad relationships. Since plugging into DaniJohnson.com and First Steps to Success, I was able to pay off $6,600 in 4 months. Now I'm able to give 10% of my income to wherever my heart desires. I actually, using the skills that I learned from Dani, I actually landed a job before I graduated college, and I'm able to travel the world. All I know is if you're serious about annihilating your debt, traveling the world, helping people, and having fun doing so, I highly recommend you get registered for the next First Steps to Success. Do it now, don't wait, don't even thinking about it. If you're ready to change your life, just do it.
We went to our first ever First Steps to Success just 10 weeks ago, and it has definitely been life-changing ever since.
We felt like we got hit by a 2x4, but it was the best 2x4 because what we realized is that our priorities were clearly out of line. I had been building a home-based business and had been working 80 to 100 hours, and I realized that that is not my role, and that I had actually taken my husband's, and it was that realization that something had to change, and we immediately went home and changed everything. There was no hesitation. We said, you know what, we need to be obedient to God.
And we've implemented the tools day one. We started implementing what Dani taught us, invested in ourselves, invested in our kids, got our priorities in line. We've now actually paid off just not quite $60,000 in debt and looking at a couple more investments here as head of the household.
It's been absolutely incredible. So I just encourage you, if any of this speaks to you, if you're wanting to get out of debt, if you're wanting better communication, if you're wanting to elevate to the higher level of life, get to First Steps to Success and plug into DaniJohnson.com.
I just heard this amazing story. One of our clients had written us telling us that they had used job domination and unlimited success and has absolutely exploded their career. He said, Dani, I don't know where I'd be today without job domination and unlimited success. Listen, do you want more recognition from your coworkers? Do you want to be recommended to people all over the world? Do you want to be somebody that is highly sought after? Listen, if you're in a dead-end place where this gentleman found himself, but then learned new strategies and changed everything in his work life, and obviously this has resulted in higher bonuses and pay raises, you're next. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Job Domination right now. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Job domination. That's what you need. It's time for you to dominate the job market and break through the rut that you're in.
Helping you become all you were meant to be. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
So you might be one of those really driven people, and you might have burned yourself out. Been there, done that. What we want to do here on the Dani Johnson Show is perhaps prevent you from jumping off of a cliff that you cannot see that's in front of you. Way back in my early business days, I had something to prove. I had been embezzled shortly after I had made my first million. And after I had done that, I swallowed a stupid pill because I made my first million working part-time. The stupid pill that I swallowed was that somehow I had to fix this. It was up to me and no one else could solve this problem. Oh, I thought I had faith in God, but oh boy, did I not show it nor prove it based on my actions. I started working 5 to 6 days a week, 16 to 18 hours a day. Do the math. That's about 100 hours a week. I had children. I had a husband. Never saw neither one of them. And my husband and I hated each other. And it was because of neglect. I was neglecting him. I was not fulfilling him as his wife, as what he would be having any kind of a relationship at all with the opposite sex who he exchanged vows with until death do us part. And yet I was married to my business. And it cost me not only poor relationships, but I had a nervous breakdown and a heart attack by the time I was 25. So my friend Linda here from the UK, she joins us now. She was in a very similar situation, and a friend of hers persisted greatly. Linda joins us now with, yes, I was about to get a divorce. Yes, I was about to lose it all. Yes, I had £250,000, which is about $350,000 in debt. After making $2.5 million, they spent far more than they made, all trying to prove something. So Linda, go ahead, tell us, you came to First Steps. You learned that you sucked at managing your time. You obviously got a hold of Time Secrets, which showed you how to manage your time. You learned about the different personality types. You found your own identity and began to live life completely different. What's the result that has happened since then?
Well, Dani, the results are profound. I heard you say the first day, I heard you say, if you are someone who wants results, then just do as I say, just do as I do. And I made a decision. I said, okay, I see the life that you live, and I see the way you speak, and I want what you've got. I decided that I'm just going to do as you say, and let's see if those results come out. Well, my results are profound. The War on Debt DVD alone got me out of that big house with a big price tags. We moved into a tiny little cottage with a tiny little everything, and we were there for not even 17 months, and we were promoted into this house 4 times bigger at $900 cheaper than what we were paying before. Wow. One of my most profound results was we were trying for years to have another baby. 3 weeks, Dani, after my first steps, I fell pregnant with my baby girl. That is just one of the most profound results that has come out of it, because I decided just to shut up and follow directions and pray and believe and step out in faith. Yeah. We have to date, we've paid off $163,000 in 16 months. We have $7,500 in savings, which we have never had a savings account before. Wow. The fact that I'm still married and we have moved our marriage from the rocks onto the rock. That is what the tagline of my marriage now, and it is strengthening every single day. I did a program with you called Nuclear Coaching. I lost 19 pounds just during nuclear coaching because I was so focused on getting my finances in order. Mm-hmm. One of the most profound results is that I stepped out of our business. That was a big, big decision for me, stepping out of a false identity of I'm a businesswoman. That is not who I am. And I became a full-time mom at the age of 41. And for the past 2 years, I've been learning to cook, learning to bake, learning to clean and do the laundry, learning to be okay with the mess, which is mostly mine. Usually mine, I've realized. And I've had to be okay with all those things. I am homeschooling my 7-year-old precious boy who absolutely is thriving in that environment. My friends think I've gone nuts, but they look at my life and go, you're so happy, you're so balanced, you're so... You just seem like you're so happy, and I'm just telling them these are the results. Yeah. I am a rehabilitated shopaholic. I used to fill the gap in my heart with shopping. I love clothes, I love beautiful things, but the $100 fun budget a month has completely rehabilitated my spending habits. My son went to his first event in Austin, in Texas. Yeah. My son teaches me self-control. He uses words like self-control on me because I gave him permission. Yeah. I'm the one that's working to work out my drama. And then he just says to me gently, he goes, Mom, self-control. And I tell you what, we have the most powerful relationship, Emma, now. We hold each other accountable on things. Dani, we just came back from the USA. We have just pitched for $1 million contract. We're on the short list for one of the biggest companies in the world for our business. Wow. And I just went along to their presentation to support my husband. I'm not working full-time. I'm still a full-time mom. Yes. But blessings are just pouring in to our business. My baby, who you dedicated not too long ago in London, she took her first step at the February first step to success. And I have it on camera. And what's the most beautiful thing about that is that Jan and I were both there to see it. Wow. I was in tears because I wasn't running around doing business with strangers all over the world. I was there to see my baby take her first step, her first steps to success.
Yes, Linda, I know how you feel. Now look at this.
Results are just crazy.
Yes, God has blessed you greatly because you followed simple instructions and you found your purpose. He made you a mother, and now you are your children's mother. How does that feel to know that you are not neglecting your kids for money?
It's been my biggest blessing, Dani. I always carried this guilt, like how do I balance supporting my husband when running this business? How do I balance time with my kids? How do I not lose my mind with all of this? And it's a simple flow of priorities I learned from you. It's actually not that difficult. No. I live my life according to what you said. My faith comes first. I look to God first. Then I'm a wife. And I'm doing things that I never used to do because my kids always came before my husband, always. But I'm a wife first, and then I'm a mother, and then I'm a businesswoman. Amen. And when I live according to those priorities, everything flows. The minute that I get a priority wrong, the minute that I put my kids before my husband, it all goes to pot again. All the stress comes back. Yep. So knowing that I'm handpicked to mother these 2 children. I do not allow condemnation anymore. I think moms out there, we suffer the most ridiculous amount of guilt. And we try our best and we love our kids, but it's not about condemnation for me anymore. If God convicts me on something, and he does, because I need it on a daily basis, I accept it, I receive it, and I move on.
Amen.
I do not stay in that place of guilt. I just say, thank you for that. I see it, and I move forward.
Amen. Linda, I am so, so proud of you. I'm so excited to see that God has honored his promises with you, that you have been obedient, that you have followed directions. I see you every single time we're speaking, every time there's a first steps. Here you are, a full-time mother, yet you are continuing to have messaging and training poured into you at those training seminars to make sure that you continue to grow and flourish and develop in your character. And the fact that you had your son with you at that last first steps or in Austin, that was amazing to see that. And I love it when the family comes together and understanding these types of principles and wisdom about money, about relationships, about our own heart, about our own character, managing our time, not living the lie of success, not living like kings when we're not, but instead living wise, and then having all those entanglements of recognition coming off of us, the entanglement of trying to find our identity in shopping or in stuff or in the size of our house, or finding our identity in our kids. Our identity is none of those things. We are made by him. Our identity is in he who put us in our mother's womb, and he approves of us, and he's developed us for something wonderful and beautiful and dynamic. And I love that God has seriously positioned you to have a humble, teachable heart, and that you are continuing to grow in such a profound and absolutely amazing way. Linda, thank you so, so much for joining us. And as a former workaholic woman, which I did that for 2 years, and that was 2 years too many, I've worked now for only 20 hours a week for the last 19 years because of understanding the secrets of time. What we lack in skill, we seem to make up with numbers, but man, I'm telling you, make up with time. But the fact is there's not enough time in a day to get it all done. That's why you got to learn the secrets of time. There are secrets for time. There really, really is. And I'm so grateful that I made the investment to learn time secrets 19 years ago, because there's no way that I could be the homeschooling mom who takes care of the laundry and helps to clean the house and cooks dinner every night for my family 6 nights a week, who keeps my husband at the first physical priority of my life, my first ultimate priority being my God, and how I live out my life it has to be honoring to him. Definitely not a perfect person by any stretch of the imagination. But how in the world can we be writing books and doing business and traveling around the world and homeschooling? How in the world can you do all of these things? It's understanding time secrets. If you have not yet gotten a hold of time secrets, I can't tell you how important it is, because you might be heading for a cliff right now, just as Linda was. You heard they paid off a crazy amount of debt, over $100,000 worth of debt in just 16 months, saved their marriage. She now is filled with joy, because she has found what success is for her, not living somebody else's version of it. I'm telling you, I think you and I both could use more joy, right? I think everybody can. Go to DaniJohnson.com and get a hold of Time Secrets. When we continue, you're going to hear another powerful, inspiring story of a marriage that was actually done, but resurrected. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue after this.
Don't go away. The next segment might just change your life. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
I'm so blessed that I found what is in Grooming the Next Generation for Success. This is a book that is being taught in universities around the world. It's been noted as the best book on parenting that has ever been written. Crazy, if you ask me. But the point is that this thing gets results. Get your copy today, 888-757-8880. Again, that's 888-757-8880. Or go to DaniJohnson.com. That's DANI Johnson.com. Get your copy today.
Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First Steps to Success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.
So 4 years ago in July, we showed up to our first Dani Johnson event, our first Steps to Success. And we were completely desperate in every area of our life. At the time, I thought it was just because of our finances, but then I figured out pretty quickly that it was because of my lack of people skills that we were where we were. We sat in the front row. We got fast track, and we sat in the front row, right in the center, next to some amazing people, because we were so hungry, so desperate, so broken, and I pretty much cried through the entire event, honestly. And when she did the War on Debt, which she will show you, this afternoon, I went back immediately and got it. She had just started talking. I heard a couple stories, and I was like, if they can do it, I know we can do it. So we went back and got it and listened to it on the way home in the car, because we drove from Michigan all the way to Missouri. So we listened to it in the car, and when we got home, we immediately got our papers out. We wrote down our plan, and we started applying it. And within 14 months, we paid off over $62,000 worth of debt. We never in a million years thought that was possible. There's so much that has happened in the last 4 years, and I'm the person that wants the results immediately. I don't like the process of getting there. I want to just get there. But I've learned to appreciate the process over the last 4 years, and just seeing the transformation that has happened in us. Personally, we individually experienced different things, and we experienced a lot of things together. I was paying our bills. I was completely disrespectful to my husband and didn't really know how bad it actually was. And so that part of our life is still improving. I can say we're a work in progress. It takes time, and we have grown so much.
We showed up. My wife, I didn't know this at the time, but she was battling thoughts of suicide. I had no idea. I thought I was being a perfectly good husband. I did my best to serve her, be a great guy. But what she needed was somebody who would step up and be a leader in our marriage. That's not who I was. And I was totally emasculated, physically emasculated by, there's someone in our church, the pastor, and so we felt the brokenness of a church, having to leave and just hurt, and devastated. One of the biggest breakthroughs started in our marriage is when Lucy started being a wife to me. And I, as a leader, I should step up, right? Take action first, be the initiator. She did it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a completely different person. And I can tell you, our marriage has just, it's amazing, the difference between her feeling suicidal, me stepping down as a leader, to me taking the initiative and just looking her in the eyes and saying, honey, thank you for allowing me to be your leader. And she just melts every time. This is awesome. So. So let me just tell you this, guys. If you're struggling, or you're broke, you're wondering what your next step is, hey, just take action. Follow those notes that you just took. Take action and do it, because your story is going to be here, and people are going to be inspired by your story. So are y'all ready to take notes? All right, let's do this. Help me welcome Miss Dani Johnson, America's favorite millionaire, to the stage.
What multimillionaire do you know that volunteers their time to help ordinary people like you and me? There's only one. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Sometimes we can be doing things that are actually causing pain and suffering in our lives, but we don't even know it. In fact, most of us end up just looking at everybody else and blaming everybody. That's why being here every day for the Dani Johnson Show is so important for both of us. We need accountability. We do. And we need truth to come inside of our spirits and to cause us to look in the mirror and to see, wait a second here, what can I do to fix this? Why? Because the status quo of success says, get lucky, buy a lottery ticket, marry the right person. That's a bunch of nonsense. Nonsense. But the reality is that it's never the circumstances that determine success in our life. It's what we do with those circumstances. Circumstances always involve people. They do. Even your money circumstances involve people who involve you, how you spent to get yourself in the financial circumstance that you're in right now. You're the people involved. Oh no, Dani, it was my wife. My wife is the reason why we have these financial troubles. Well, husband, maybe you needed to grow in character and lead better financially for her by telling her no. Learning to communicate in a way where you motivate her to get out of debt instead of being a control freak over the checkbook, or instead of just bowing down and letting her have full reign and freedom while she's beating you to death financially. Bottom line, every circumstance in our life, every circumstance, we can change how we deal with those circumstances, and that changes the effects of our life. It changes the results of our life. Joining me right now, we have Lori Meyerson from West Palm Beach, Florida. She is a more recent client of ours who came out to First Steps to Success as a very broken person with lots of different challenges going on in her life, and was a single mother who had a horrible, bad relationship with her daughter's father. Lori, you shared your story a few weeks ago at First Steps to Success, and we have about 4 minutes left to be able to kind of just touch over what has happened in your life. You came out to First Steps. There was a need. You heard about our website. You got a hold of First Steps to Wealth, which is our book that we have available on our website, and you powered through that book. And after powering through that book, you decided, I got to go all in with this material. And something miraculous happened inside of your heart that you were not expecting. Can you explain that real quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. It's changed everything in my life. My life was a complete disaster. And what came out of it is that I can co-parent with my father's dad, who's my ex-husband, but we can get along well enough to, for our daughter's sake, and put all of the past aside.
How did you come to that place, though, Lori? Like, what prompted you? Because you had said to me before that you guys just had a really bad relationship. What was bad about the relationship?
It was an unhealthy relationship. There's a lot of blame. There was a lot of abuse on both sides, verbal, et cetera. And it was just, we couldn't communicate, and we didn't understand each other. We were both very controlling people, and we just couldn't communicate and work together. Yeah. And there was a lot of pain, a lot of things that had been built up, and it was hearing something that you said on one of the materials that I had, that it was, I need to recognize my part in it, that it's a two-way street. It wasn't just one-sided, and I realized that I had to forgive myself. I had to forgive him. I had to apologize, and I also had to ask God for forgiveness because there's a lot of pain there, and that was huge. After that, our relationship completely did a 180-degree turn.
Wow. Completely. So hold on one second. Was it hard to forgive him?
I think it just took swallowing my pride. Yeah. But when I finally made that phone call, it was so easy to just say the words, and but I truly felt it in my heart, and that was the key. And it was, I think he needed to hear me make the first move, because I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't forgiven him and myself, and took blame for my role, because it wasn't just one-sided. It's definitely a two-way street, and it, in a way, it set me free to be able to move on and close that chapter of my life, and realize that you can learn from any situation. Life is a learning lesson. Yep. And I learned so many things from that situation, and it was a freeing experience. Yeah. Basically.
Lori, what do you say to that single mom or single dad out there right now who's driving the car, they're listening to this, or they're watching this on their television from home? What do you say to that person who just heard you say this, that they heard you say that you had to make the first move, and that you called and asked him to forgive you? That person listening right now is like, you're freaking crazy. I ain't doing that. What do you say to that person?
Yeah. As a parent, sometimes you have to put you have to put your child first in a lot of regards. They're looking up to you. They didn't ask to be in this situation. And you need to think about how they're viewing it. Take yourself out of it for a minute and try to put yourself in their shoes. When you're divorced, this child is going back and forth between two homes. I mean, think about for yourself, if you had to live 3 days in one house under certain rules, and then you turn around for the next 4 or 5 days and you have to go to somebody else's house, and you just keep having to go back and forth and back and forth. That's tough for an adult to deal with.
Yeah.
And you imagine, no matter what age your child is, that's very, very difficult for them to do. And I think if you can take yourself out of it and look at it objectively from your child's perspective, I think we, as parents, we owe it to our children to see how they view it. And sometimes we just need to kind of get our own ego out of the way.
Yeah.
But what I can tell you is if you do make that move, whether they forgive you or not, it will set you free from what you're going through and all the anger and the pain and everything that you're suffering from. It's so freeing. It's really like somebody takes the chains off your wrist and just sets you loose, and you're able to kind of close that chapter and just kind of move on, and rather than living with it on a day-to-day basis, all that anger and anxiety and pain. But I think if we look at it from our child's eyes, I think that's
yes, for the sake of them. And you know what? I want to just touch on what you just said because it's so powerful. It sets us free when we forgive. So right now, I challenge you as we get ready to take this next break. If you're listening to Lori and myself, I want you to pick up the phone and I want you to call your ex and I want you to ask them to forgive you. Ask them to forgive you. You're like, what are you talking about? Listen. Start this conversation for the sake of your own heart, for the sake of your children if you had some in that marriage, for the sake of the blessing that will come upon you. You want freedom. If you don't, you end up taking this into the next relationship. It causes more anxiety, worry. It robs you of your confidence. It makes you feel like a loser and a failure. So pick up the phone right now. Call them, humble yourself, and ask them to forgive you for your part in the mess. And be sincere about it. Quit trying to elevate yourself that you were the saint and the angel and the perfect one. There was only one perfect one that walked this earth. They killed that guy, okay? You and I are not perfect. And if you really saw it from a full perspective, you would see that you played a part in the mess. Make it right. Do it right now. We'll continue with more of the Dani Johnson Show right after this.
Don't go away. The next segment might just change your life. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
This is your chance. This is your shot. Get your copy of War on Debt right now. There's one waiting for you that has your family's name on it. And inside that package is freedom. Your family's freedom is on the inside of that package. All you have to do is open it up, press play, and start applying what I teach you in this program. 888-757-8880. You and I are going to help your family become completely debt-free in the next 5 to 7 years. Just imagine how that's going to feel. Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Pancha. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org. The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success.
Did you know you can take the Dani Johnson Show with you wherever you go? It's never been easier to stay up to date with the latest content from Dani with the DaniJohnson.com app. Watch or listen in the car, at the gym, or on the go. Download it now from the App Store and Google Play and never miss a show again. Your family, business, and bank account will thank you. And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
You never know when your life is going to turn around, but I know this. It doesn't just happen. It doesn't just fall out of the sky. Maybe there's been a messenger trying to talk to you again and again. It could be a messenger like Linda's, was a friend from church for 13 months saying, come on, you need to come check this out. Maybe it is that you've heard a message and you really don't want to respond to it. You really, really want to dig your heels in the ground. Well, just as we've heard today from these two women who have incredible stories of healing, of restoration, financial advancement, they had to take the first step. They did. And that's what it takes to succeed. You see, not what the status quo says about success. Status quo, Disney tells you that success is like meet the right person, kiss, live happily ever after. In fact, you can even kiss a frog and everything's gonna be great. And then of course, find a rainbow, because at the end of the rainbow, oh, there's that little pot of gold. Not true. If we want to succeed in life, we've got to learn new skills. Skills that do more than pay the bills. Skills that take stress off of us instead of adding more stress. You know what? You've been hearing about First Steps to Wealth. If this is your very first time joining us, we'd love to give you a copy of this for free. Dial this phone number and ask for Nellie or Nate, 866-760-8255. Some of the skills that you've been hearing about in these two women and their powerful stories have come from the instructions that are inside of here. You and I weren't born with an instruction manual. At least we didn't know we were. Well, this has some incredible principles and wisdom and strategies and skills that are not only going to help you with those personal relationships that you have that you seem to be struggling with, how to motivate yourself and others, how to annihilate your debt and increase your income, all through one book. If you would like a physical copy of it, you pay for the shipping and handling, and I'll send you the $15 book. So again, call 866-760-8255. Ask for Nellie or Nate. They'd be happy to serve you in any way. Also, on that note, you've been hearing about First Steps to Success. You might want to ask them about that too. They'll be happy to tell you when the next First Steps to Success is and how you may or may not be able to participate with that. And lastly, there's something else that both Linda and Lori and I did not get the chance to talk to you about, and that is that we are working together as mothers, as business people, as community people, as believers in Yeshua, that is Jesus the Christ. We are working on a project to be able to take a portion of everything that we make. In my case, 100% of the profits for my business goes straight into taking care of the poor. But I'm not saying you have to do that, but I am saying this. Join us on this adventure. Look, there's 1,000 families in Central America who are desperately, and I mean desperately poor. They don't have water. They don't have food. They don't even have a home. They have some kind of a makeshift dwelling that they put together with scrap wood and branches and bushes. And scrap metal. Definitely not a house. But this, unfortunately, is where they live. And where they're living is unsafe because they live on top of an abandoned mine, and a house right down the road from one family sank into the ground and killed a woman who was 8 months pregnant with her child. It killed her and the child. You can help. You can help by choosing not to go to the mall this weekend to buy another blouse that's on sale. Take the money instead, and you can help Audalis feed her child for an entire year for only $50. If all you got is $5, go to kingsransom.org. That's kingsransom.org. That's it for us today. We'll join us tomorrow for another show that's helping you to succeed wildly in the marketplace.
Did you hear that last segment? Do you know someone else who needs to hear it? This has been the Dani Johnson Show. If you want to hear more, visit us at DaniJohnson.com.